Harrison Walker, a quiet elderly man, entered a flashy car dealership only to be humiliated and ignored because of his modest appearance. Little did the staff know, this same man would return the very next day, not as a customer, but as their new boss. What follows is an unexpected turn of events that leaves the arrogant salespeople stunned and scrambling as Harrison takes control. He exacts a powerful form of justice that no one saw coming. You won't believe how he turns the tables in a way that will leave you speechless. But before we dive in, leave a comment and let us know where you are watching from today. And if this story speaks to you, hit that subscribe button for more amazing stories. Harrison Walker was no ordinary man. Known for his immense wealth and quiet demeanor, he had amassed a fortune over decades of smart investments and strategic business decisions. But despite being one of the most successful men in the state, Harrison rarely flaunted his riches. He lived a modest life, drove a simple car, and preferred quiet evenings at home over extravagant parties. It was this down-to-earth nature that made him relatable, though few knew about his true wealth. However, Harrison was about to find himself in a situation that would test his patience and push him to take unexpected action. One chilly afternoon, Harrison decided to visit a car dealership in town. His car, though still running smoothly, was nearly a decade old, and he figured it was time for an upgrade. He had his eye on one of the luxury models that the dealership advertised. Despite his preference for simplicity, Harrison knew how to appreciate quality. But when he arrived at the dealership dressed in his usual worn-out jacket and scuffed shoes, the reaction he received was far from welcoming. The dealership was bustling with activity. Salespeople in sleek suits attended to younger, flashier customers. The sound of engines revving from test drives filled the air, along with the general buzz of a busy afternoon. Harrison quietly entered the showroom, hoping to find someone to help him. He wandered from car to car, admiring the sleek lines and polished exteriors. Despite spending 20 minutes looking around, no one had approached him. It was clear that the staff had noticed him. Some even glanced his way with dismissive looks, but despite his presence, they continued to focus on customers who, based on appearance, seemed more likely to make a purchase. One salesman, a younger man with slicked-back hair, made eye contact with Harrison, but quickly looked away, choosing instead to attend to a well-dressed couple who had just walked in. Harrison was patient at first. He stood by the luxury sedan he had come to see, running his hand along its smooth surface, waiting for someone to offer assistance. But as time went on, he felt increasingly humiliated. The whispers from the staff, the cold stares, and the blatant disregard for his presence began to sting. It wasn't just the lack of service. It was the realization that they had judged him solely based on his appearance. To them, he was just an old man who didn't belong. As the minutes passed, Harrison's patience began to wear thin. He approached the main desk where 3 salesmen stood chatting. "Excuse me," he said politely. "I'm interested in purchasing one of your vehicles. Could someone assist me?" The man behind the counter barely glanced at him. "We're a bit busy at the moment," he replied dismissively. "Why don't you come back later?" Harrison's expression didn't change, but inside, something shifted. He gave a small nod and turned to leave, his heart heavy with a mix of frustration and anger. As he walked out of the dealership, he caught one of the salesmen laughing quietly, muttering something under his breath about wasting time on window shoppers. But what the staff didn't know was that Harrison Walker was not a man to be underestimated. The humiliation he felt that day would not be forgotten easily. And as he drove away in his old car, he made a silent decision. This wasn't over. The next morning, Harrison returned to the dealership. But this time, he wasn't there as a customer. He had made a few calls the night before to some influential contacts in the business world, and within hours, he had acquired enough leverage to buy the entire car dealership. Harrison wasn't interested in purchasing a car anymore. He was interested in owning the whole operation. As he stepped out of his car and entered the showroom, the same staff who had ignored him the day before were there, but they had no idea who he really was. The general manager, a middle-aged man named Tom, approached him this time with a forced smile. "Good morning, sir. How can we assist you today?" he asked, clearly unaware of what was about to happen. Harrison handed over a set of papers to Tom, his expression calm. "I'm not here to buy a car," he said, watching the man's face as he scanned the documents. "I'm here as your new boss." Tom's face went pale, his hands trembling as he realized what the papers meant. Harrison Walker had bought the dealership overnight. A murmur spread through the showroom as the other staff began to take notice. The once smug salespeople who had laughed at him the day before now looked confused and worried. Harrison remained composed, but there was a quiet authority in his voice as he spoke. "I came in yesterday hoping to buy a car," Harrison began, addressing the room. "But instead of being treated with respect, I was ignored, dismissed, and judged based on how I looked. You all made assumptions about me without knowing anything about who I am or what I'm capable of." The staff exchanged nervous glances, their confident smiles from the day before nowhere to be seen. "As of today, I am the owner of this dealership," Harrison continued, "and things are about to change, starting with the people who work here." He turned to Tom, who was now sweating profusely. "Tom, you're fired, and anyone else who treated me or any customer with the same level of disrespect will be gone as well." There was a stunned silence in the room. No one had expected this outcome. The very man they had laughed at and ignored was now their boss, and he wasn't wasting any time making changes. One by one, Harrison began calling out the names of the staff he had observed the day before, firing those who had contributed to the toxic culture of the dealership. Those who had shown kindness to others, regardless of appearance, were spared and given new positions of leadership. By the end of the day, nearly half of the staff were gone, replaced with new hires who understood the value of treating every customer with respect. Harrison had turned the dealership around in a matter of hours, and word quickly spread about the new ownership. The once dismissive and arrogant dealership had transformed into a place known for its excellent service and integrity, all because of one man's determination to make a point. As Harrison walked out of the dealership, now completely under his control, he felt a sense of justice. He didn't need to flaunt his wealth or demand respect. He earned it. In the process, he taught the staff a valuable lesson about humility and kindness. The very people who had judged him were now jobless, and the dealership thrived under his leadership. Harrison Walker was no ordinary man, and he had just shown the world exactly why. This is a story of humiliation, resilience, and unexpected revenge, showing how one man's modest appearance led others to underestimate him. But in the end, Harrison not only bought the dealership that ignored him, he transformed it into a place where respect is given to every customer, regardless of their looks. A powerful reminder that appearances can be deceiving, and you never know who might be walking through your door.